The fog hanging over Torbay wasn't the comforting mist of postcards. It was a heavy, greasy blanket that rolled in from the channel, swallowing the Victorian facades of Torquay and blurring the jagged red cliffs of Devon into mere shadows. Detective Inspector Vance stared out from the promenade at the churning grey surf. The missing persons board on his desk at the Torquay police station was becoming a cruel joke. 3 people in 10 days, 2 tourists snatched from the damp sands of Meadfoot Beach, and a local fisherman whose empty trawler was found drifting 5 miles off Berry Head, its motor still purring. No bodies, no distress calls, just sudden, agonizing absence. The sea's taking them. Gov, muttered Sergeant Harris, pulling his woolen coat tighter against the wind. Riptides are vicious this time of year, or hypothermia. They go in for a late night swim, and the undertow drags him out. People don't just vanish without a ripple. Harris, Vance said, his eyes narrowing as he watched something break the surface of the bay. It wasn't a dolphin's arc, nor the sleek roll of a harbour seal. Something massive undulated through the swells, parting the grey water with effortless, ancient grace. For a heartbeat, a long, serpentine neck shot upward, crowned by a small, reptilian head. Then, with a gentle slap of flippers that created a swell heavy enough to rock the moored boats in the harbour, it submerged. Vance blinked, his breath catching in his throat. "Did you see that?" "See what?" Harris asked, already turning toward his car. "Come on, Gov. Coast Guard's got a report of another empty dinghy drifting near Thatcher Rock." Within the hour, Vance and Harris were aboard a police rib, cutting through the swells toward the imposing limestone stack of Thatcher Rock. The water here was deep, dark, and notoriously treacherous. As they neared the shadow of the rock, the beam of their heavy spotlight cut through the mist, sweeping across the dark water and illuminating the cavernous base of the cliffs. There, floating near the jagged rocks, was the bright yellow inflatable dinghy. It was pristine, completely undamaged, and entirely empty. "Kill switch wasn't pulled," Harris whispered, his voice trembling as he held the spotlight steady. No signs of a struggle in the boat. But look at the water, Gov. The sea around them was violently displaced, swirling in a massive circular vortex, as if a submarine had just surfaced. The stench of stagnant, prehistoric mud and rotting kelp suddenly filled the air, cutting sharply through the salt breeze. Then the water broke. Rising 12 feet into the damp Devon air was a smooth, dark green neck, thick as an oak trunk. Atop it sat a head with wide, unblinking reptilian eyes, gleaming wetly in the spotlight's glare. 4 massive paddle, like flippers, churned the dark water, effortlessly holding the colossal, barrel-shaped body afloat. It was a plesiosaurus, a living, breathing relic of the Mesozoic, somehow surviving in the deep, unmapped abysses of the English Channel, occasionally rising to hunt in the sheltered, nutrient-rich waters of Torbay. The creature tilted its head, studying the small police boat with an intelligence that felt chillingly alien. In its jaws, trailing a tatter of bright red nylon fabric, was the unmistakable remnants of a waterproof jacket, the exact brand and colour the last missing tourist had been wearing on Meadfoot Beach. Vance's hand hovered over his service weapon before dropping to his side. Bullets wouldn't scratch a creature of that magnitude. It wasn't a monster acting out of malice. It was merely an apex predator feeding, treating the Devon coastline as its private larder. "Mother of God," Harris breathed, paralyzed. It's a dinosaur." The creature let out a low, vibrating hiss that rattled the teeth in their skulls, a sound that hadn't echoed over the earth in 65 million years. With a powerful sweep of its rear flippers, it arched forward and slipped beneath the dark surface. The water swallowed it whole, leaving only gentle ripples and the echoing sound of bubbles popping on the tide. Vance stood in silence as the mist closed back in, hiding Thatcher Rock, Torquay, and the restless sea. There would be no rescue missions for the missing souls, no closure for grieving families, only a classified report locked deep within the archives, and the agonizing knowledge that every time the fog rolled over the English Riviera, something ancient and hungry was waiting just beneath the waves,